So we talked about a good thing. We talked about a bad thing. Now we're going to talk about a really bad thing. This is, I don't know what the hell you were thinking with this one. Well, I know what you were thinking with this one. I'm really, really mad that they even considered and actually put this in the game, though. And I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people unhappy with this one. Some of you guys may have noticed this. Where'd it go? Did they take it? Oh, no, never mind. Here it is. Prime Station Delay. Seriously? Seriously? When attacking a station, delay opponent ship and defense platform weapon fire for the number of rounds shown below. And it's got 2 levels to it. It's a 2-level prime. So therefore, when you're attacking a station, you can delay their weapons fire for 2 rounds. And if you have ROM, that's a 3rd round, assuming they don't have Crass to counter ROM. Now it doesn't matter. They've got Crass. They just wasted a slot. Well, they didn't really waste a slot because they moved it up a round, right? They made it a round better. ROM isn't doing anything. Although now people may not even bring ROM. They might just bring Carol. Because with this prime right here, you can guarantee that none of their ships and none of their defense platforms will do anything for the first 2 rounds of combat, except sit there and get shot by you. This is terrible for PvP combat. This is terrible for station combat. The whole concept that a mid-level player could do anything against a whale, and people came up with some very clever and very creative defenses, right? The bold strategy, the oceans defense, all these different variations on station defense mechanics go right out the window with a $200 prime. Because those tiny little ships are going to get shot to pieces, and their ability of doing things, of delaying you or doing damage to your shields, boosting Harrison so you can get some damage through, and things like that, that's all gone because you're not shooting them in round number 1 and you're not shooting them in round number 2. By the time you do get to shoot them in round number 3, who knows how many of your ships are even left at that point. They fired 2 or 3 weapons, killed 2 or 3 of your tiny little Rialtas and Orion corvettes per round. So 4 to 5 of your docks are probably empty because those big G5, whale ships have just come through and just wiped the deck. This is a bad prime. PvP was already pretty unbalanced, and this just might be the tipping point that has enough people say, you don't care about anybody other than the upper 1%. And this is very, very obvious. Now, the flip side to that is people are going to say, well, it could work against the whales. Can you imagine if I go attack a whale's base and they can't shoot me for 2 rounds? I might actually be able to get some damage done. That is true. However, it is far less likely to be impactful as the other way around. A whale attacking my base, I have a chance of defending myself before this prime comes out. Me attacking a whale's base, sure, I can do a little bit of damage to them. And I can actually slowly start to chip away. So, 10, 15, 20 attacks later, I might actually kill some of their stuff. This is not good. This is not good for the long-term health of the game. I will say, however, this does make one particular officer, who you notice they are selling right now, suddenly become a hell of a lot more valuable. And his name is Pond. Because Pond's captain's ability might actually become slightly relevant again. It is still highly RNG dependent, but Pond's captain's ability gives him a 10% chance at the start of combat to delay opponent's weapons for 3 rounds when attacked by players if your ship is an explorer. So Pawn as the captain on the explorer, you get 15% synergy from each side, bringing you up to a 40% chance of delaying them for 3 rounds as well. So their ROM delayed you for a round, their Prime delayed you for 2 more. Maybe you stopped ROM with Crass, hopefully. So their Prime delayed you for 2 rounds, you delayed them for 3 rounds. Maybe that's enough to still let you get some damage through. Maybe that's enough to still tip the battle in your scales, the scales in your favor. But with synergy, he's a 40% chance to actually work. 4 out of 10 times, not really a good betting strategy. It's a captain's ability, so you don't really have a way to boost this. You can put him on the jellyfish, the old baby jellyfish, but the baby jellyfish's ability only affects the original value of the captain's maneuver. So if we go look at our, hang on, we'll just do it this way. If we go look at our baby jellyfish real quick, pilot recognition increases the effectiveness of the captain's maneuver by 70%. It would be awesome if this worked on the synergy value. You got 40%, you're giving that a 70% boost. 40 times 0.7, 70% boost is another 28. That gets you up to a 68% chance. That's a lot more reasonable to actually go off and work. But the jellyfish goes off the base value, so you're only getting a 7% increase. So putting Pawn with synergy on this particular ship brings you up from 40% to 47%. A little bit better. You're getting close to a coin flip now, but the odds are still in their favor. Didn't they disable the baby jelly for Pawn? I don't remember hearing anything about that. It's entirely possible. It doesn't make much of a difference. Like I said, you're going from 40% to 47%. Because that's just how the jellyfish's captain's ability works. Maybe people think it's got turned off because they don't see much of a difference when they put him on there. Because they don't understand that it's only the original unmodified value without the synergy that's getting the bonus. But Pawn would suddenly become a much more useful person. However, it's basically a dead ship, right? It's an empty slot. And you've kind of wasted your entire Explorer strike team by doing that, because you have to give him synergy, and he's on a useless ship, and none of the other abilities then work either, because they all require morale for Weyoun and for Akataka to trigger, and there's no morale coming from that particular scenario. So DJ said the jelly doesn't work on an old podcast. Maybe. It's always possible that it's just broken or it was disabled intentionally. But as far as I know, I mean, again, you're talking about going from 40% to 47%. So it's a pretty small change that you'd have to have your base attacked dozens of time to really track it out to see if it's actually working as often as it should. Yeah, hit my base 100 times. Let's find out what happens. So FYI, people already have that Prime. Yes. Yes, they do, Balabom. Yes, they do. Because I'm pretty sure it came out a couple weeks ago, and I don't think a lot of us paid much attention to it. I believe, has it been bought already, or is it here in the research? Prime Station Siege. I guess it's this one. It does say limit 1, though. So maybe they're not letting you get it all the way up to level 2 just yet. They slow rolled it, unless, of course, this limit thing is also wrong. But I think that's the right one. Of course, you know, you could also just buy a different Prime that uses the same material and then just get it yourself. Because I think there are several Primes that use this new Prime Valor Shooting Star mechanic. So even if they limit you and stop you from buying 2 levels of this one, you could probably just buy something else in here that also uses it. Maybe there isn't anything that also uses it. There's got to be something else in here that also uses it. Those are all Dolomide. These are all Dolomide. I'm sure there's something else in here that you could buy that would have that. Maybe it's the new Primes. Maybe it's one of these new guys. Like the Armada Refinery. There you go. The new Armada Refinery token also uses it. So if you wanted to skip that one. And the new Prime Dominion Solo Armada loot bonus. That's probably the better one to skip. You could buy this one and double up on the Station Prime. So there are certainly ways to get around that. Bad Wolf said earlier, keep in mind it costs 15 billion titanium to repair Daenerys, and those bases have nothing a tier 5 ship would want that's worth the cost. Well, then they shouldn't attack the base. If you want to attack a base with your 15 billion Daenerys just to be a dick and hit some level 42 player who's got no resources worth stealing, or because you're trying to crack it open to help one of your smaller alliance buddies, well, maybe you got to think about what the cost is to you then. Because now this Prime, you don't have to worry about that anymore, and you can just run around hitting any base you want and have no repair bill. And that's not good for the long-term consequences of the long-term health of the game, in my mind. So now, whether this was intentionally done to help the whales or whether it was done, you know, because they asked for it and they were complaining about stuff, I don't know. I'm not in any of those chats. Or if this is Scopely trying to be proactive, or this is them trying to be like, hey, let's cater some, we need to sell some stuff. Well, what can we sell the top 1% guys who will just buy all kinds of stuff? Here's something good we can sell them. They'll definitely buy this. Congratulations. You're going to get 200 bucks from a handful of players, and you're going to have a whole bunch of people probably quit playing. You're going to have a high level of 55 plus players who are probably going to buy this kind of stuff. You know, a decent handful amount, you know, whatever, however many there are really that actually would spend on stuff like this. They'll get 200 bucks out of them. And you'll have a whole bunch of people in the 39 to 49 range who are going to be like, you know, now I can't even do anything about this. Now I have to do this stupid incursion event, and I can't even set up a defense because I'm not going to be able to attack them for 3 rounds or 2 rounds. This is the final straw. I've had enough. I'm clocking out. See you when I see you. Star Trek Fleet Command isn't about strategy anymore. It's just Star Trek Prime pack buying. It does seem to get further and further out of whack, and that is, again, something that's pretty scary for the long-term health of the game. It isn't good for the game when a bunch of Findra can destroy G5 epic ships either. Well, those Findra are really just being, meat shields while the station is doing all the damage. Because typically speaking, in a lot of aspects of Star Trek, space stations versus one ship, the space station usually wins. We think about Deep Space Nine, and every time it got attacked, right? How many Klingon ships or how many Romulan or Cardassian ships did it destroy when it was getting attacked? The little runabouts and other little fighters and cruisers, yeah, they all got blown up pretty quickly. But they did just enough of a decoy of a diversion that let Deep Space Nine keep firing all them photon torpedoes and phasers and blowing up all those ships, which is kind of how it should work. So, Star Trek Prime Command. Joel Thunder, does this game have microtransactions? No. This is not that kind of game. Everything in this game that you want to buy costs between $20 and $100 per pack, and some things take multiple packs to unlock. Isn't the game $40? You're thinking maybe of a different Star Trek game. This is Star Trek Fleet Command. This is the mobile game that's been out for about 5 years now. Coming up on its 5th anniversary. You are welcome. Thanks for stopping by. Good luck. Yes, Ripper is correct. Star Trek Infinite, I believe, was the game that came out today. I think that's the one Rev was playing on his stream earlier. I popped in for a second. I saw his chair. I looked at the screen. I saw across the top of it like 9 or 10 different currencies, and I just went, oh God, not again. And that was it. I left. That was it. I said, nope. I don't even know what's going on here. The fact that there's already like 9 or 10 different currencies that I can see across the top of the screen, I can't. I can't. I'm going back to work. I'm actually going to do some work today. So, well, the economy of this game has been so bonkers for years that, you know, everything is so heavily tied to the whales to keep the lights on with these $99 price points. I know it was brought up in the meetings in the, that DJ and them had with the Scopely executives about doing some lower price points, selling more $19.99 things, selling more $49.99 things. We haven't really seen much of it yet, though. There's a few things like Forbidden Texts. Those are being sold for $49.99. It's still a pretty pricey investment, you know. But it's also got 5 years of precedent at this point. How can you justify starting to sell stuff for $49.99 that used to be $99.99 a couple months ago that people paid $100 for? I mean, it's like anything, right? It goes on sale. A brand new Xbox game comes out, it's $75. Give it a couple months, and now it goes down to like $50 or $45. But the people who spent $75 on it are going to be mad. Well, they should have waited 3 months. They could definitely go back and lower a whole bunch of price points. They won't, but they could. Ripper seems to like Star Trek Infinite. Okay. STFC makes less money than Monopoly Go. I've never played Monopoly Go. The fact that the game is Monopoly, but you have to spend real money to play it already makes me nervous. I don't want to play it. Okay. It's a Scopely game designed to make money. Well, I mean, it's kind of right there in the title, right? I mean, that would be the game that actually would be them like staying on brand. Star Trek is a game about, having a lack of a universal economy, right? Everything's all like socialism. Nobody gets paid, yet somehow they interact and trade with other species. Never quite understood that one. Beans, thanks for stopping by. Have a good weekend to you as well. It's got casino like things. Oh boy. Yeah, the long term health of this game has really taken a hit this year, and I've really scaled back on my spending, which probably only accelerates the snowball going downhill, right? Because then they're going to start saying, well, we're not making enough money, so that's why we have to try and push these really broken things to sell to keep making enough money to keep the game going. But then by continuing to sell these broken things that make the game worse, you're causing more people to spend less money on the game and leave. So it's kind of one of those infinite circles, which came first, the chicken or the egg kind of mentality. And all it really does is ultimately end in the same place, which is this game isn't fun anymore and nobody wants to play it. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So we're starting on the slippery slope for sure. And things like this Prime are just another example for it. Another blatantly flashing, blinking hazard warning sign that should be telling players like, you know, your purchases in this game are no longer going to be a long-term investment. At least that's how things look from my chair.